Hello, welcome to my Sunday Frump. Today I have a mukbang and it's a ramen burrito, and I'm so happy that you guys stopped by and watched my show. I hope you stay till the whole end. But here's what I'm gonna be chowing on today. It's just rice with some sausage and veggies. I got some salsa and some Maria's cookies. Keeping it old school. And yeah, I have my delicious drink here. Gonna open it up. I want to take some notes because I want to go through it with you guys. We can go ahead and go through what I was thinking of. So, um, for many years, um, for many years, so like my whole life I go through things. Everybody does. But like when you're in like in into academics and stuff like that, you always think, oh, well, I know. Like you think you know everything. And as it turns out, I don't. I really don't. And as it turns out, I'm learning as we go, you know, as you know, and that's all I can do is give it my best, just put my best face forward and just, um do my run. And so that said, I don't really want to get personal on this. I'm just like touching base with pop culture. And yeah, let me get started on my burrito. Look at that. How gorgeous. Cheese, everything. I use everything but the bagel on my ramen. Mmm. This is good. Mmm. It's so good. I have a fork just in case. So I don't really have a full day today. So I kind of spent like a whole day just relaxing. I didn't upload anything. I feel like whenever I post, like I get less interactions and engagement, so I like kind of like fall back from posting. But you know, it's not like I'm not talking about important things. So I kind of like am more susceptible to posting um than I should, according to my, how do you call it, my specifications, my statistics. According to my stats, well, according to my stats, I shouldn't even be alive. Hmm. But man, I was seeing this article about a man that caught four charges because he abused a dog, took his life. I don't know, like some people have just surveillance cameras, they don't have like a security behind them. Like, sometimes they have like these um guards, like they'll watch your property and they'll notify the authorities if they see something sketchy. But this guy, I think he hit the dog and it was a little one, it was a baby. He didn't make it, so he picked him up and took him. Um, I don't know what happened after that, but he caught 4 felonies. I mean, 2 felonies and 4 other charges, and his bond is up. Like they got him. He's either gonna serve or he's gonna pay. Let me tell you, that's like a big fine. I feel like the other day somebody accessed my pet and I was like, this is whack. Like I wish somebody would have red flagged, from the beginning, but life happens and haters hate. But luckily, I'm a public figure, so I'm already like, I got people in the loop. Not to say that, you know, not to say that, it it didn't like make me at least uncomfortable or affect me spiritually. You know what I mean? And I saw this case on TikTok and I thought it was so weird, you know, because I was going through it myself, and it's always somebody, you know, that the public trusts or something. With me, at least. This was just like a random thing. Like, it was a nice night out, and some man just passed by that lady's yard, and he lived like next door. And but like those types of crimes really, they kind of hurt deep. But um, they found him. Um, but had he been a stranger to the neighborhood, I don't think they would have. And that's what, is horrible about these crimes because not everybody can afford a camera. Yeah. And as with me, like, not everybody can, you know, can have, like, somebody watching and, somebody helping out. There's, you know, a lot of people that just, like, they just leave their dog for work and nobody watches them. Um, they leave their cats or whatever for work and they don't have nobody watching them. But I'm the opposite. If I have a goldfish, I will literally I'll pay 2 babysitters for my goldfish. Like I'm not like psycho, but like like I just gotta make sure. That's just the way I always been. Um like, I just wish like people would look out for each other more, I guess. Is what I'm trying to say. um but yeah. I hesitate to go into these things, but I also was seeing that I think it was CNN that had aired live the Trump hearings from outside. They were stationed outside. It was really cute. And they had like chairs or something, or I don't know. They just had a whole setup. It was like cool. Of course, like when they're broadcasting, you don't see that. You know what I mean? But what happened was that the firemen had to come, and that's why we saw everything behind the scenes. Some guy was passing out flyers, and this guy was like interviewed afterwards in the incident. After the incident, he was interviewed, and he said that he got a flyer, saw a guy with a can, throw it on his head, his body, all over, doused himself with lighter fluid. And he said he couldn't do anything. It was so fast, you know. But in front of all the cameras, and the cameras were rolling because the journalists that were all stationed along the little area, you know, of the sidewalk, they were covering the same court hearing, and everything went live. And luckily the cops were nearby when that man took the match and lit himself, you know, aflame. His name was Max Azzarello, and as of this morning, I believe he had passed, died due to, you know, the third-degree burns that he received. Once he had been, you know, ignited, the cops came, the firemen came, they rescued him, put him on a stretcher, took him in the, you know, in the van. They took him in the ambulance and took him to the hospital. He was still alive, and they put out the flames immediately. And everybody was like, "What happened? Why did he do it?" And everybody assumed that it was a politically motivated protest, you know, self-immolation. It's a demonstration of, you know, anarchist, you know, movement or something. And I said, "Are you kidding me? There's no way." And, you know, I was like, there's a link to suicide here, you know? This is not something that you can just dismiss as a politically motivated thing. This is an actual crisis. So I dismissed it, and I kept moving on, and I didn't think anything of self-immolation until this happened, and this brought me to thinking, you know, this guy, Max Azzarello, may he rest in peace, Max Azzarello, he was passing out those flyers, and it was like a bunch of jargon, a bunch of, you know, ramblings, a bunch of misinformed whatever writings that he was handing out, and these pamphlets, you know, they didn't make any sense. They came from this man who thought that what he was doing was gonna be seen as like some martyrdom, and, you know, and I want you guys to think about, you know, things like that. Like, this isn't what it appeared. It isn't what the media wants you to think. It's not what society accepts, you know. You receive these tad bits of information through your exposure to somebody else's experience in life, and his ended tragically because he had a mental illness. He was putting two and two together. Every clue he got, every tidbit he got of information, he was putting together, in his mind without a complete, healthy, actively, functioning, um, not just his brain but his mind. He was prone to all these suicidal tendencies because that's the that's the actual um, gateway to somebody accepting, and also, him doubling down on completing this atrocity. And so I don't want people to take away from the situation, when you're seeing these things and you're in the chat and you're just like, oh, well, um, he's just really, trying to work with the government and try to make them more aware that the citizens need this and that. No, he didn't say anything like that. He was talking, you know, abnormally. Had he been healthy, he would not have wanted to end his life young. He would not have wanted to incite violence in public, and he would not have wanted to, you know, commit crimes against the government. Um, and I just want you guys not to fall into those, beliefs, so easily, because we're always force fed things that are actual dangerous situations, and luckily, the police were right there when it happened. Nobody else was injured. Nothing else was destroyed. Um, and they tried, like they tried saving his life, but he had completely doused himself in lighter fluid. So that's what I wanted to say about self-immolation, because these are the things that I, get, you know, I get that people want the entertainment. You want entertainment, but also when things get scary, things get dangerous, and they include, a body of people, this is when we have to take things serious. This is when we have to be actively proactive in being, base civilians. Like we have to be, doing right by our neighbor. You know. So these are things that I just wanted to share. Um, oh, and the OJ case. The OJ case, like when I was growing up, we loved OJ. Everybody loved OJ. There was nothing that OJ could do wrong. Um, and ever since I was a kid, I never knew him to do anything wrong. And when he played football, he was a star. He only dated stars. There was nothing that man could do wrong. But, that court case, it made it like if nothing happened, And so when I was a kid and I was seeing all the court hearings, and I was like, why do they keep bringing it up to court? He had like 3 court hearings. They didn't find evidence. The second time, they just let him go. They had like wet a glove and that was it. But not only like when you're young, you want to hear the half truths that are published by the media and whomever. You want to hear the half truths. You need to. You need to feel safe. You know, but it wasn't true. That court hearing occurred because he did cause harm to somebody, and he took somebody's life. So may he rest in peace. Um, and I know, he had struggled towards the end of his life, and it was difficult to see, somebody you admire go through hardships. But when they said, why didn't they just lock him up and throw away the key when they saw him on surveillance, it hit me. That was the only thing you had to say, you know? But some things it's harder, they get really, really, really murky. They get really, really, really foggy, smoky. Like, there's no clarity here. We need, we need to believe things, so we can, not have change in our life. That's exactly what we got, this icon. And even through all those court cases, nobody, around him could really say anything bad about him. So all of that combined, his charm, you could, as a public figure, if you're talking down on him, you can hold a candle to him. And so yeah, there's still people that are not any better than him, but I didn't know that, the bad had happened. I think they found the words. They found the words after he passed, and and that's fine. That's fine. You know, I can deal with that. I can deal with that. My conscience can deal with that. My heart can deal with that. And of course, I don't think it was out of disrespect either, so it's okay. So you guys know um I was covering the body parts that were found in Babylon at Bethpage Park. Well, because it was connected to Amityville, I got spooked out. I don't know why. But, you know, the house in Long Island, everything was fine. Everything, everything was, there was no, they even stopped covering it, right? So they stopped covering the death of what are they calling it, a love triangle, right? So um when I was thinking, I was like, what happened at the house? And I went back, and there was a trial, right? So I was like, okay, well, that's, let me just read through. So the trial goes on to talk about uh exorcism, and then it goes on to talk about an expert couple on exorcisms and possessed objects. But what was really interesting was the fact that um, I guess the base of exorcism and its history, um, a lot of experts know, the foundations and stuff. But when I thought about it, I was like, well, let's just bring it back, you know? And it occurred to me that it had something to do with the 1600s. So this was the Salem witch trials. Um, is what happened here. Like, because like you gotta trace back the origins, right? So, which is not far from New York. Salem, is not far from New York. So when I went to go look back at it, and I heard somebody say, um, well, they were spewing out misogyny. And I said, whoa, you're embarrassing. I didn't know that the Salem witch trials were real. And the reason why I didn't know that the Salem witch trials were real was because in school it's scholastic and academic based, but mostly like I had AP classes, and I had like level up classes, for people who get bored easily. Um, with the genius IQs, we had to go to special classes for that, because then we'd fall behind. And so it's about 3 times the speed of a regular class, in case you're wondering. But because because of the way the wording and all the all the material covered was not um, it was not presented um, on facts during the hearings. They were not. There was no nothing that could be considered propaganda. You know, could possibly have ever passed through my desk. Like, you know, of course not. I was a child. Um, these are not things you want to expose kids to, but at the same time, when I was an adult, I had the same thing. I had sped up classes, and everything was just, real focused on the, you know, it was very focused on whatever degree I was getting or what have you. So there was no way that I could have ever known that this was a true occurrence in America. Like, and this is like one thing in pop culture that is like it's a big deal. And how I found it is why it's a big deal, I believe, because it was women, right? And how I found it was through a misogynistic discussion that somebody was having. And mind you, when I was listening to all the, you know, the discussion about um, this stuff, it was like registering in my brain misogyny, like red flags, like totally, completely no. I'm about to have a meltdown because hello, why are we not saying it? Um, you know, but when you don't think it's real, you don't think there's dangers there. But, you know, of course, like, a simp would get affected, but that would be the end of that, right? Like, and they just completely be like, well, we went overboard. Of course he did, right? But you know, I didn't know that. Um, See, I had covered Amityville even, which had an exorcism, allegedly. Um, so they directly linked it to Salem. They directly linked Salem, you know, to the original exorcisms. So, so yeah, I kind of get spooked sometimes when I cover things. So, yeah, um, that really spooked me. But um, I think that what really went on, we're it's not being shared completely because it was such a spectacular in pop culture, and I think that it was since they were women, this is gonna be painful to for anybody's mental capacity. Like we don't have those capabilities to just talk about women like that. And anybody, if you're even if you're a girl, you can't imagine that happening. um just I just couldn't. um and I go through a lot of things, and I couldn't imagine my entire world being ripped from me to confront this on a daily basis. And even after, if you were born after, a lot of women back then were pregnant, as I know. I can't imagine those kids with the aftermath, the toll it took on the community, um, and having to rebuild that trust, respect, and even today, because we don't talk about it, we need to be more open to sharing things, because I feel like that's the only way to get those bonds, the way they should. Um, because like I said, I go through things all the time, and it doesn't take it takes time for somebody to heal, but you have to go through a process, and that process is having the accountability. you know the accountability needs to be there. Is what I'm saying. So um I guess you can't just throw it at the government. You have to, everybody involved, you kind of gotta name names, right? TikTok, you know what I'm talking about. You gotta name them names. That's why we have social media, because we're able to hold accountability. We're not here to divest. And and I'm sharing these things that I didn't know, existed. And I'm sharing them with you guys openly, just kind of being, I guess, vulnerable right now because, like, you know, like, I don't know what you think of me right now, but I can assure you I know everything about exorcism. I can assure you I can assure you I know a lot about, you know, pop culture, and I know a lot about true crime. Like that's how come this kind of struck my chord. But I digress, and I thank you guys for coming back every time. Every time. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Please like, comment, and share. Uh, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Let's get this. Let's get the channel bigger. You know, um, I have more to come. I'll have more to come anyway. But I enjoy you guys being here in mass. And I hope to see more of you guys interacting with me. Um, and see you guys again soon. My Sunday front. Bye bye.